Good afternoon, Bhargav. It's Tuesday, the 9th of May. Here's the heads up brief for today. For the Southeast Asia production, we covered 16 issues. For North Asia and for Australasia and the Pacific Islands, we covered 4. And in South Asia, we covered 15 issues, plus the major issues in Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
Thank you. Those are a lot of issues. Which are the major ones today?
Right. So in Thailand, there's going to be mass political rallies in Bangkok on the 12th of May. This is the last attempt to show strength ahead of Sunday's general elections. Now, this comes as the former Prime Minister living in exile, Thaksin Shinawatra, said that he wants to come back to Thailand in July. If so, that could potentially trigger a wave of instability given his history in the country.
Uday, these are very interesting developments, and we have enough client interest on this. We got to track this very closely.
Yeah, we are. Moving over to his neighbor Myanmar, a convoy of vehicles transporting Singaporean and Indonesian diplomats was attacked in Shan State on the 7th of May. Now, there's conflicting claims. The military blames the resistance forces, while the resistance forces blame the military.
That's typical of Myanmar. Hopefully, things get resolved as early as possible, although it's unlikely at the moment.
Yeah. And moving over to Auckland and New Zealand, there's a state of emergency because of the ongoing rainfall and flooding.
All right.
In South Asia, in Pakistan, the Baloch Liberation Army threatened to attack logistic companies supporting the mining sector. It also reiterated threats to private entities in the resource sector in Balochistan. This comes a couple days after they attacked a truck carrying Afghan marble being transported to Karachi. They let the drivers off with a warning but damaged the truck.
That underlines the need for better security for businesses operating in Balochistan. Businesses, especially multinational businesses, will not be able to proceed with their operations, and this includes the CPEC corridor, which passes through Balochistan, and that reflects quite poorly on the security forces as well as the civilian government at the federal level. They are unable to secure these businesses.
Yeah, definitely. Moving over to India, yesterday in Amritsar in Punjab, 2 low intensity explosions were recorded. There's not much information on who did it and what the motive is. Punjab is on alert at the moment.
The situation in Punjab has been quite tense. At the same time, if these explosions turn out to be a terror plot, it basically shows what's behind the mask of all that religiosity which comes up with the separatist elements. Okay, it's such a high degree of contradiction when they target the holiest place in their own religion, while at the same time claim to be the protectors of the same community. So that's a high degree of contradiction, and that it validates the stance of the security forces both in the center and at the state level.
Right. And lastly, in India, in Bangalore, the BJP members of the Bharatiya Janata ruling party and members of the Indian National Congress clashed in the city. A few people were injured. Now, this comes ahead of tomorrow's elections, which are being watched very closely.
Yes, this is a very important elections. We have covered this quite closely in the last few weeks. The campaigning period ended yesterday, and the state is under high security, especially Bangalore. The entire city of Bangalore was pretty much under lockdown for all the political rallies which took place on Sunday, with Prime Minister himself coming down to the city. So that shows how important the election is for the national parties, including the Congress and the BJP. The security is fairly well maintained. The state forces are backed up by central paramilitary forces as the election goes underway tomorrow. So I do not expect any major scuffle to break out. But even if it does, it is going to be contained at a local level by the security forces.
Right. Lastly, in the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region. So last month, About 12 crew members were kidnapped from a Danish oil tanker in the Gulf of Guinea of the Republic of Congo. Six of the crew members who have been held for more than a month have been rescued from an undisclosed location in Nigeria, and all of them are now free.
That's interesting. Uday, do we know what was the nature of rescue? Was it done using special forces in Nigeria?
We're not sure, and we're not sure whether the company has paid a ransom.
All right. Yeah. So such situations are quite murky, and businesses need to watch out very closely on how these things occur and how they evolve.
Yeah. And lastly, Ukraine has said Russia is blocking the registration of vessels to Ukrainian ports for grain exports. Now, this comes a few days ahead of the expiry of the Black Sea grain deal. It's set to expire on the 18th of May, and so far, Russia has indicated that it will not extend the deal because of Western actions against it.
That doesn't come as a surprise to me, that especially because Russia has been very strong on its position, and the West doesn't budge either. So that will have its own impacts on the supply of essential goods coming out of these areas. So this will have a direct impact on the global markets and the supply chain. So we'll have to watch closely if something actually comes through, or if there's a breakthrough in the talks.
Yeah. Thanks, Bhargav. That's the brief for today. Anything else from you?
Nothing else for me. Thanks for that.